Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Leighton Cassette Movie Review Podcast. And today I'll be reviewing Batman Forever. For the third installment in this franchise, Warner Brothers turned to Joel Schumacher to direct. The studio decided to move on from Tim Burton due to complaints and backlash from Batman Returns. Tim Burton did get credited as a producer on Batman Forever. Janet Scott Batchelor and Lee Scott Batchelor, along with Akiva Goldsman, wrote the screenplay. This movie kind of serves as a soft reboot for the franchise before the term was in vogue. The only actors to return from the Burton movies were Michael Gough as Alfred and Pat Hingle as Commissioner Gordon. Michael Keaton also passed on the movie after not liking the script. I've heard in interviews he's done since then he wanted to do more of a prequel to show how Batman became Batman. So Schumacher cast Val Kilmer as the new Batman / Bruce Wayne, because he was impressed with his performance a few years earlier in the movie Tombstone. Chris O'Donnell was cast as Dick Grayson and Robin instead of Marlon Wayans, who still receives checks to this day because he was recast. Jim Carrey was cast as the Riddler. Now, Jim Carrey was a megastar at the time of his casting due to the Ace Ventura movies and The Mask. Harvey Dent / Two-Face was recast as well. Instead of Billy D. Williams, Tommy Lee Jones was cast. It's been heavily reported that Tommy and Jim didn't get along during the production. Nicole Kidman was also cast as psychologist / Bruce Wayne love interest Dr. Chase Meridian. Just like the previous movie, a completely new Gotham City was designed by production designer Barbara Ling. While I do personally much prefer the look of Gotham in the first two movies, particularly Batman Returns, this Gotham doesn't feel as claustrophobic with lots of different locations in the city and the world looks more open. It actually feels like a city as opposed to a set. The cave was completely redesigned for the third time as well, and the Batmobile was redesigned. Schumacher said that he took a lot of inspiration from artist George Giger. The gamble did pay off, as they were able to secure about 200 sponsors for the movie, including getting McDonald's to return. McDonald's had a superhero burger as a promotion for the movie, which consisted of 3 beef patties, 2 types of cheese, lettuce, tomato, onions, and mayonnaise on a superhero bun. I looked up the old commercial on YouTube, and it just looks like a sesame or seed bun. They also had a promotion in which if you bought an extra value meal, you could buy a glass from the Gotham Glassware collection. They had 4 characters: Batman, Robin, Two-Face, and the Riddler. They were essentially coffee mugs. And a personal story, last year, after 23 years, I was able to get the last one I needed to complete the collection. I'll share the commercial for the sandwich and mugs on Twitter. Just search for the Leighton Cassette on Twitter. I do have a lot of nostalgia for this movie as well, as I was 6 years old at the time it was released and remember watching it in the theater with my mom and brother. I did have a lot of toys and vehicles from the movie, the Sega Genesis game, which was absolute shit, and even the comic book tie-in. This is no doubt what Warner Brothers was looking for when they changed direction in the franchise, to sell as many tie-ins and toys to kids as possible, and it undoubtedly worked. The soundtrack was also a big hit, featuring U2 and Seal. Seal's hit song from the movie, Kiss from a Rose, is still played today. While the second movie lacked a soundtrack, except for one original song from Susie and the Banshees, Face to Face, this soundtrack is a far better one than the Prince soundtrack from the 1989 movie. We also have a new composer, Elliot Goldenthal. Batman Forever was released on June 16, 1995, with a budget of $100 million. It surpassed Jurassic Park as the highest-grossing opening weekend, bringing in $52.8 million. It brought in a total of $336.53 million worldwide, making it the second highest-grossing film of the year behind Toy Story. It did make more than Batman Returns, but not as much as the 1989 Batman movie. Now, to get into the movie, we start out with some 3D looking opening credits. We then see Batman suiting up right away, which is a vast improvement over waiting for it to happen in the last movie. But the first words uttered in this movie are a joke, with Batman saying, "I'll get drive-through," when Alfred asks him if he would like a sandwich to take with him. He then speeds out of the Batcave in the new Batmobile. We are then introduced to Two-Face, and this is the only time he truly has any duality that Harvey Dent has in the comics animated series and later in The Dark Knight. He spends the rest of the movie essentially acting like Jack Nicholson did as the Joker in the first movie. He traps a security guard in a giant vault and intends to use him as bait for Batman. Originally, the first scene of the movie was to be a doctor entering Arkham Asylum, Two-Face's cell in Arkham Asylum, and seeing "The Bat Must Die" written in blood on Dent's wall after he has escaped. I believe he was supposed to have killed a security guard. That's how he got the blood to write "The Bat Must Die" and escaped. But the studio thought that it was too dark. Batman swoops down to the ground and has a powwow with Gordon and Chase. She correctly deduces that he is robbing the second bank of Gotham on the second anniversary of when Batman captured him. Gordon has brought in Chase because she is an expert in abnormal psychology and multiple personalities. Batman and Chase exchange their knowledge of multiple personalities before he heads to confront Harvey. Harvey's goons shoot up an elevator Batman is in, which is just strange to see Batman in an elevator. But he hides along the roof and takes out the goons and their neon guns. He is locked in the vault when he goes to rescue the security guard. Two-Face starts to get away in a helicopter, pulling the vault out of the wall and behind them. The vault then starts to fill up with acid, and Harvey states it's the same acid that turned him into the very man he is today. Batman pops out the security guard's hearing aid and uses it to pop open the vault from the inside. Batman then hooks a grapple gun up to the chain pulling the vault and cuts the rest of the chain with a mini torch. This must have been an extremely strong gadget to hold the vault. The vault then falls and lands perfectly back in the hole Two-Face pulled it out of. Two-Face then grabs control of the chopper and flies it through a neon sign. There's a shit ton of neon in this fucking movie. Two-Face celebrates thinking Batman is dead, but then when his chopper pilot alerts him that Batman's on the windshield of the chopper, Two-Face loses it and starts shooting the front of the chopper, killing his pilot. Two-Face then kicks Batman as he's trying to enter the chopper, and Batman is trapped in between the chopper and its landing rails. I'm not sure the technical name for it. But Two-Face then sets the chopper to fly straight into Gotham's Statue of Liberty. Batman narrowly escapes before it crashes into the statue. We then get our first good look at the new Gotham City design the next day, as we enter Wayne Enterprises for the first time in the series. I believe it's also the first time Wayne Enterprises is even mentioned. The design is good, but the CGI doesn't age well at all, and it really takes you out of it because it looks fake as fuck. We see Edward Nygma for the first time, and he lets out a near orgasmic groan when he sees Bruce Wayne at the facility, as Edward is obsessed with Bruce and even calls him his idol. Edward runs out to meet Bruce and tells him of his invention, a device used to beam TV signals into the brain and make the audience feel as if they are part of the show. Essentially, I don't know if it was 3D or a 4D experience. Essentially, that's what it looks like when he tests it out later. Edward asks for additional funding for human trials. Bruce says he wants technical schematics, and when Bruce tells Edward to call his assistant, Edward says he wants an answer now, to which Bruce replies no, it raises too many questions. Edward then vows to make Bruce understand as Bruce walks away. Bruce, seeing the bat signal outside of his office, locks his door, and when he sits in his chair, he says chair, and the floor opens up underneath him and tilts his chair forward, and he takes off like a fucking bullet towards the Batcave. Which really makes you wonder how many man-hours went into getting this tunnel built, and how did no one notice? It's very, very strange. It's cool looking, but it's very strange. Batman answers the signal, but is surprised to find Chase and not Gordon. She called him there just to tell Batman about Two-Face's coin, which he obviously already knew. When he schools her that the bat signal is not a beeper, she then reveals she's not interested in a strictly professional relationship. She gets wet for the Dark Knight. He jokes that chicks love his cape and his car. She then throws herself at him. Some more, which begs the question, who really needs a psychologist? Gordon then shows up in his fucking pajamas to see what's going on and ruins Chase's advances. Batman then takes off, saying it was a false alarm. Back at Wayne Enterprises, Edward knocks his boss out when he discovers Edward working on his terminated project. Edward then uses him as his first human test subject. Stickley, which is the boss's name, then becomes enamored with a fishing show Edward turned on. Edward then discovers it has a side effect. Edward was able to suck up Stickley's brainwaves to make himself smarter. Edward then pushes him out the window, and he crashes down into the water tied to a chair after he fires Edward. The next morning, we see archived footage of mob boss Sal Maroni, who was also played in the Dark Knight, and Maroni's scarring dent in a courtroom. Bruce heads to Wayne Enterprises after learning of Stickley's accident. Edward feigns grief and gives a note he said Stickley left in his cubicle to the cops. Edward was able to doctor the footage and make it look like Stickley ran out the window when in reality he was tied to the chair and Edward pushed him. After reading the note, Gordon comments that it was definitely suicide, case closed. Bruce then demands full benefits for his family despite suicide not being covered by the insurance. He then finds a riddle on his desk and correctly assumes the answer, which is a clock. We go to Edward's apartment and it's something else with shit everywhere and a fortune teller type thing and a suit which would eventually be the Riddler suit. We then see him make a riddle and drop it off at the Wayne Manor gate. Bruce goes to see Chase the next day and breaks down her door when he hears her grunting and assumes she's in trouble, but in reality she was hitting a punching bag. He brought her the riddle and she deduces the man sending the riddles is a total wacko. The second one, I believe the answer was a match. He sees an ink blot and assumes it's a bat. Bruce then comes across a Malaysian dream doll which is supposed to ward off bad dreams. And the only time I've ever seen or heard of a Malaysian dream doll was A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. And if this movie took inspiration from A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, then we would have quite the mashup. He asked her to be his date to the circus, and we do see Bob Kane, one of the creators of Batman. He was the creator, but there's a big controversy with Bill Finger we'll get into in a later episode. But Bob Kane's real-life wife, Elizabeth, playing Gossip Gertie, a gossip columnist, and it's a role she reprises from the 1960s TV show. We then see that the circus is televised, with Edward watching it at home because apparently his fishing show wasn't on. He gets incensed when the TV mentions Bruce Wayne. We are then introduced to the Flying Graysons performing acrobatics. Bruce asks Chase on another date, but she says she has found someone already, which is Batman. The circus ringleader is taken out by Two-Face's goons during Richard Grayson's death drop, which is a jump without a safety net. Harvey then emerges as the ringleader, dressed as the ringleader, and his men quickly take out any threat. He reveals that he has a bomb filled with 200 sticks of dynamite. He gives Batman 2 minutes to turn himself in. Bruce screams that he is Batman, but Two-Face can't hear him through the chaos. Bruce then starts to take out Harvey's men one by one. The Graysons then concoct a plan to get rid of the bomb. Richard heads to the roof as the bomb ascends to the top of the building. He is able to get the bomb and roll it off the roof of the building and it explodes in the water. But his family is shot down and fall to their death in the process. The next day, Gordon brings Dick Grayson to Wayne Manor, as Bruce has volunteered to take him in. Dick decides to leave after Gordon exits. Dick only agreed to stay with Bruce to avoid paperwork, essentially. We then get the first little hint of a tease of a shared universe when Bruce says the circus must be halfway to Metropolis by now. He invites Dick to fill up his bike in the garage before he leaves, and Dick is taken aback by Bruce's motorcycle collection of rare bikes. Dick agrees to stay when Bruce says he would offer someone a bike if they were to fix them up. He would let them have one as a fee. Alfred then walks in with a delicious looking burger, definitely better looking than the superhero burger. No doubt it's not the superhero burger. Bruce still suffers from flashbacks of his parents' murder. We then get a confusing bit of dialogue as Bruce says, "I killed them." It's unclear if he was talking about his or Dick's parents, and this is due to a deleted scene. There were lots of deleted and cut scenes from this movie. Bruce then takes off after seeing the bat signal in the sky. Alfred tries to console Dick and asks him about the robin painted on his helmet, and he tells a story about saving his brother's life. And his father said he swooped in like a robin. Not like an eagle or a hawk or a cool bird, a fucking robin. But I guess he had to get the name from somewhere. Two-Face and his crew are running roughshod over Gotham when we catch up with Batman. Two-Face tries to use an RPG to take out the Batmobile, but Batman moves, and he takes out some of his own goons, part of his neon machine gun gang, as I like to refer to them. A car chase between Batman and Two-Face and his gang takes place, and then when Batman comes to a dead end, the Batmobile grapples and drives up a fucking wall. It's an homage to the 60s TV show as Batman and Robin were seen walking up walls, and every week or every couple weeks there would be a celebrity cameo of a celebrity looking out the window and watching Batman and Robin walk up the wall. We see Edward trying to come up with an alter ego before he excitedly decides on one. At Two-Face's lair, we see his two girlfriends who appear to be both sides of his personality, with one of them being played by Drew Barrymore. Edward then breaks into Harvey's lair as his new alter ego, the Riddler, and offers to help him get Batman. He demonstrates his invention on Sugar and Spice, Two-Face's girlfriends. The Riddler says if Harvey helps him steal capital to start production on his invention, he will help him find out who Batman is. Two-Face says they will flip for it, and then we cut to see them robbing a jewelry store. Dick Grayson then shows he has the skills to eventually that he has the skills to eventually be Robin by doing fucking karate on his laundry. It's one of the most lampoon and ridiculous scenes from the movie. I thought it was cool when I was like 5 or 6 years old, but now it's just hokey and fucking stupid. We get a scene of Two-Face showing the Riddler how to punch a man while robbing a casino. We get a news report of the robberies and Alfred bringing Bruce another riddle from the Riddler. Alfred and Bruce try to figure out what the three riddles mean and are stumped thus far. I think the second one, the answer was a match, and this one was... One second. It was chess pawns. That's what the answer was for the third one. Edward Nygma, now resembling Bruce Wayne, holds a press conference to announce his new company and his new invention. His new company is Nygmatech, and his new invention he just calls the Box. And he uses this to steal people's brain waves. We see an island where his company is located, and it's really, really something that they got this structure built in that quick amount of time. And no one asked where he got all the capital from to build this strange looking structure. Basically, the building, which is his headquarters, looks exactly like the Box, and it looks... I'll link a picture to it on Twitter. It looks like something else. We then see Dick doing some impressive acrobatics to sneak through the world's slowest closing door that leads to the Batcave. Earlier on, he asks Alfred why it was the only locked door in the house. Of course, Dick crashes and burns, but he does go sliding through the door and roll down the stairs. An alarm goes off saying that there is an intruder. Of course, instead of having a built-in system to hide everything and put everything on lockdown, the computers turn on, the Batmobile ascends up a platform, and it's absolutely ridiculous that this would happen while there is an intruder. Bruce is with Chase, who gives him a Malaysian dream doll. Bruce then tells Chase of his repressed memories about his parents' murders. As she leaves the room, he finds a lot of Batman magazines and notes on Batman. Chase admits that she is fascinated by Batman and wonders why he does what he does. Just as the two start to kiss, Bruce gets a FaceTime call from Alfred 20 years early on his watch. Alfred tries to tell Bruce that Dick took the car for a joyride. Bruce, who can't pick up on subtlety at all, incorrectly guesses a couple of cars before we see that he realizes it by silently looking and, I want to say brooding, but just silently looking away like, oh shit. We see Dick approached by some prostitutes, played by the girl group En Vogue, who thinks it's Batman inside the Batmobile. Why they would think it would be a good idea to approach Batman, being that they are prostitutes, is anyone's guess. I have no idea why they would think that would be a good idea. They laugh at Dick, who then spots the girl being terrorized by a gang of neon motherfuckers. Dick holds his own against the gang, even telling them that he is Batman and that he forgot his suit. Dick even manages to get the upper hand on the leader and helps the girl escape before he gets outnumbered and is about to be beat to a pulp before Batman swoops down and the gang scatters. Dick yells and hits Batman for not saving his parents. Dick insists on being Batman's sidekick, but Bruce tries to talk him down by sharing about his parents' murder and saying that killing Harvey won't make his pain go away, which is Dick's ultimate goal, but Dick refuses to listen. Bruce, Chase, and Dick then attend Edward's launch party for his new and improved box. Edward taunts Bruce because of his company's success, and then Edward hits on Chase. I'm convinced that she was named Chase because of this one line. After she tells Edward her name is Chase, he says, "And what a grand pursuit you must be." It's fucking stupid. What in the actual fuck is that line? Edward has volunteers enter a room to demonstrate what the new box does. It's a fully interactive holographic fantasies. Edward mimics Bruce's mannerism and looks by putting glasses on when Bruce puts glasses on, taking them off when Bruce takes them off, and he even has a fake mole on his face, just like Bruce does. Well, Bruce's mole is real, but Edward's is fake. Chase dances with Edward because reasons, I guess. Maybe his charisma. I don't know. Sugar then powers the machine down as Bruce asks how you turn it off. But then as Bruce stupidly walks inside, she powers it back up. And in reality, Edward is using the machine to extract images out of the mind, not implant them. Two-Face and Spice show up with the Neon Gun Gang. Bruce rushes to the car where he evidently keeps a spare bat suit. He crashes through the ceiling and we see the security guard from the very beginning, apparently very happy to see him as he lets out a "Batman! Ah!" So that's the sound he makes. It is something else. We see Dick rush out of the car to change into his acrobat clothes, which closely resemble the Robin suit from the comics and the 1960s TV show. Batman saves Chase from being attacked, and she plants a kiss on him and tells him to meet her at her place at midnight. Two-Face and his gang jump into an opening in the street where there's construction going on underground. We then get probably the coolest shot of the movie, a 360 shot of Batman jumping down into the tunnel, but he is trapped by Two-Face and his crew. They use a giant, kind of looks like a like a clear dryer vent, only a huge one. It's yeah, it's something. But they trap him in the tunnel, and they turn on natural gas and shoot a fireball at him. However, he has a heat-resistant cape, and he covers himself and activates it. How lucky. Two-Face loses his shit even more so than normal and shoots the platform Batman was standing on after he comes charging out of the tunnel. He is then buried by dirt, and then suddenly Dick pulls him out. Bruce chastises Dick even though Dick saved him. Dick is more preoccupied with what his sidekick name could and should be, and he even suggests Nightwing. Bruce is not happy with Alfred, who he thinks is encouraging Dick, but Alfred says he needs guidance and not encouraging. Batman visits Chase, who sleeps in the buff, and they kiss before Chase tells Batman she met someone else, obviously Bruce. Batman then turns to leave, and he smiles. That's right, he fucking smiles, the biggest smile you will ever see on Batman's face. And that was even in the Seal Kiss from a Rose music video. Batman should not smile like that. The Riddler shows Two-Face that Bruce Wayne has bats on the brain from when he stepped into the room with the mind extracting device after Two-Face cries, fake cries, I don't know. It's so over the top that it's ridiculous. And not to ruin what I say in the negatives, but this is the worst performance of Tommy Lee Jones's career. The fucking worst. Back at Wayne Manor, Bruce tells Dick that Batman is no more because he found love and is going to tell Chase everything that night when she comes over. He tries to reason with Dick, but Dick is still blinded by rage over his parents' and brother's murder. After they leave the Batcave, Dick comes back and takes his acrobat costume and bounces, we last see him pushing his bike out of the giant tunnel. During Bruce and Chase's date, she accidentally knocks over a vase with a rose in it, triggering more flashbacks to Bruce's parents' murder. Bruce then tells her of their wake, where a young Bruce finds his father's journal and grabs it and runs into the storm. In one of the deleted scenes, it's revealed in the journal that Bruce's parents wanted to stay in, but Bruce insisted on going to the movies, thus where the "I killed them" line from earlier in the movie came from. Young Bruce fell into a cave and saw a giant bat and realized that it was his destiny, just right then and there. They kiss before he can tell her that he is Batman, but she seems to realize it after they kiss. The Riddler and Two-Face break into Wayne Manor after posing as trick-or-treaters on Halloween. They knock Alfred out and put him in a closet. It's a shame we didn't get to see the scene of Alfred coming out of the closet. The Riddler then says the plan is to seize and capture and not kill anyone. The Riddler uses his cane to locate the room where the Batcave is. I have no idea how his cane can figure that out. Your guess is as good as mine. It's no explanation. Two-Face and his goons attack Bruce and Chase while the Riddler throws bat-looking grenades all through the Batcave, destroying everything, including the Batmobile. He even does a ridiculous pitching routine where he's acting like a baseball pitcher and baseball music plays in the background. At the end of this, we get another gem from Jim Carrey, who screams, "Joygasm." Yes, joygasm. Fucking ridiculous. Two-Face sits in the corner flipping his coin until it lands on his desired result, death. Two-Face shoots at Bruce, but the bullet only grazes Bruce's head. The Riddler stops Two-Face before he can finish the job and lets a riddle there and escapes with Chase. Bruce awakens to Alfred, who tells him Chase has been kidnapped, Dick has run away, and the cave was destroyed, and that there is another riddle. Originally, Bruce was supposed to have amnesia here in this scene and have no recollection of being Batman until he went down into the same cave he fell down as a kid and came face to face with the giant bat, but that scene was cut. It's even on the Blu-ray and the DVDs they released, the Batman anthology set they released when Batman Begins came out, 'cause I got it that Christmas, and there's really no sound. It's just Bruce staring at a giant bat puppet, but it's a cool visual. It would have been awesome to have Man Bat, but we can't have nice things. At the Riddler's headquarters, he taunts Chase, who says he is counting on the Batman to come and rescue her. We see the Riddler place a giant question mark above the bat signal using lasers, I guess. I have no idea. We see the last riddle, and the answer to the last riddle is that it's vowels, A-E-I-O-U. Alfred and Bruce decode the riddles and find them to mean Mr. E or mystery, and another name for mystery is enigma. And then Bruce says, Mr. E. Nigma, Edward Nigma. Yes, this is all the steps they used to find out that Nigma is the Riddler. Now, I guess it could be worse for this movie, but I don't know. Bruce then deduces correctly that Stickley's suicide was a computer forgery. It is so weird to hear him say computer forgery instead of photoshopped or, or something that, we're familiar with in 2019 terms. But in the Batcave, we conveniently see that there was only one suit that wasn't destroyed, and Alfred calls it a sonar suit. When in all actuality, a costume change was there to pump up them toy sales. But it really is a cool suit. I really do enjoy the suit, and I'm kind of bummed it was only in the last little bit of the movie. But he also conveniently has a Batboat and a Batwing. Convenient because, well, toy sales. And because Dick comes down dressed in a new suit with muted red and green colors. Alfred takes the credit for making the suit. His turnaround time on the suit is amazing because we assume that Dick has only been there maybe a month or so. And he only knew of Bruce's secret identity of Batman for maybe a couple weeks. And that's even stretching it. Because it doesn't, you really don't get a sense of how much time has passed because it definitely seems like it's fall when Dick moves in, and it's definitely Halloween when all this goes down. I mean, it might be the next day, but at this time, but I don't know. It's something else. They then shake hands and call each other friends and partners. Bruce takes off in the plane and Robin in the boat. Two-Face and the Riddler play a mock game of Battleship, blowing up underwater grenades, trying to take out the Batboat. And the Riddler does use a laser, I guess, on his building to take out the Batwing. Batman and Robin then fight off their attackers underwater and swim to the island where Robin, in an homage to the 60s TV show, exclaims, "Holy rusted metal, Batman," because the ground is metal and full of holes. Holy. I guess it could have been worse, especially for this fucking movie. The ground separates and Robin is on the part that rises towards the sky and Batman is still on the ground. Batman then enters the building through a door and locks him inside the building. As Batman climbs a ladder inside of the building, and the ladder is made out of question marks. Question marks. I'd really like to know what kind of engineer and workers built this building. It's just so ridiculous. Question mark. I mean, I know I said it 3 times, but I just can't get over how ridiculous it is. Two-Face attempts to jump Robin, but Robin gets the upper hand and even has a chance to kill Two-Face, which he has repeatedly stated that he intends to do so. But instead, we get character development, and Robin extends his hand and helps Two-Face up from the ledge. Two-Face then pulls a gun on Robin and puts it in his face. After climbing through a descending floor of spikes, well, I guess it's a roof of spikes that's coming down towards Batman, he pops up through the floor and tells the Riddler, that he knows he is Edward Nygma. The Riddler then tells Batman that with him out of the way, he can steal credit cards and bank account numbers. It's not clear why he couldn't do that before. Maybe he has been the whole time, but he definitely makes it sound like he hasn't, and that's his intention. He then makes a voice saying that he is a god before asking if it was over the top because he can never tell. You could say the same thing for everything in this movie. And everything this movie stands for, because everything is over the fucking top. He then reveals he has Chase and Robin in glass cages, glass prisons above a watery grave, a very big drop with rocks at the bottom, sure to kill them. When Riddler tells him to make a choice, Batman then stalls by asking the Riddler a riddle. And the answer was, "You're as blind as a bat." And Batman says, "Exactly." And then he throws a batarang, smashing the device that Riddler used to store the brainwaves, I guess. All the people's minds Riddler stole then starts to overload his brain, driving him insane, and he pushes the button to send both Robin and Chase plummeting. Batman is able to save them both, and as they make it onto a beam, Two-Face appears and is about to kill them. Then Bruce reminds him about the coin, and as Harvey goes to flip it, Batman throws a bunch of coins in the air, forcing Two-Face to lose his balance and plummet to his death. And Robin has a very pissed off, "I should have killed him" look on his face, which kinda hard not to see. Wouldn't be mad at Robin if he was a little salty about that, because Batman told him not to kill him the whole movie, but then you can make the argument that Batman didn't want young Robin to become what Two-Face in, that whole thing, be better than him, blah blah. Back at the Riddler, Batman tells him that he is both Bruce Wayne and Batman because he chooses to be, not because he has to be, and then the Riddler suddenly lets out a scream in fear. We then go to Arkham Asylum, where the now insane Edward Nygma says he knows the true identity of Batman. But when Chase prods and asks him who Batman is, he exclaims that he's Batman and jumps out of the shadows and starts flapping his arms as if they're wings, laughing. The name of the doctor that Chase was consulting with is Dr. Burton, and he has Tim Burton-esque hair, so it's definitely an homage to Tim. Outside, Chase tells Bruce that his secret is safe and that Edward is a total wacko. He gives her the dream doll back and says he won't be needing it back because she has given him a new dream. They kiss, and she tells him not to work too late, as Alfred creepily watches and smiles. We then cut to seeing Batman and Robin running towards the camera with the bat signal behind them as credits start to roll. Now, there are some positives about this movie. Gotham, like I said earlier, is a far more wide-open, sprawling city. Well, I don't appreciate the neon everywhere, and it's fucking everywhere, and all the statues, it does actually feel like a city, something the first two did not achieve. This movie definitely does show the struggle of being Bruce and Batman better than the first two. There is definitely a theme of duality here that was not present in the first two. While I personally prefer Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer definitely plays a better, less awkward Bruce Wayne. I do like Chase as a love interest and wish she would have returned in the next movie, but I guess she didn't fit into the narrative, so she was out. I do like both Batsuits and the Batcave as well. I always felt that the first Batcave was kind of primitive. Yeah, he's just figuring out how to do it. He has one suit in a vault, and the second Batman, I do like that cave a little better because it is, bigger. The first cave definitely feels a little claustrophobic, and it's supposed to be a cave, so it's supposed to be huge. But I do like those design elements of it. Now the negatives. Both the Riddler and Two-Face are way, way, way too over the top. Jim Carrey is just playing Jim Carrey, which is, I guess, what you would hire him to do, especially at that time. But Two-Face shows absolutely no duality that Harvey Dent has, and he just copies pretty much a lot of what Nicholson does. Two-Face laughs probably just as much as the Joker did in the first one. This is definitely the worst, as I said earlier, performance of Tommy Lee Jones' career. It is absolute shit. Robin is a little too whiny, which could be understandable if he was a little younger. Robin is supposed to be a kid, and I could see having an 18, 19, 17-year-old somewhere in their lines, even 20, as opposed to 13 like in the comics. But he was played by 25-year-old Chris O'Donnell. 25 years old. So if he was a little younger, I could have got behind the whininess, but it, yeah, yeah, that's all I got to say about it. And the neon. The fucking neon everywhere. And there are subtle nipples on this bat suit, and everyone blames that on Batman and Robin, but it was started in this movie. Now, it may not sound like it from my review, but overall, I did enjoy this movie more than I thought I would. And I did like it quite a bit when I was a kid, but I do see its flaws a lot more clearly now than I did then. I can see why the studio and sponsors were happy with it and rushed a sequel into production, but it was ill-fated. The sequel was the Batman and Robin sequel. This movie did breathe new life into the franchise, but also set a template of what would ultimately kill the franchise for 8 years. I give this movie 2.5 stars, and I give it that because I do like Kilmer's portrayal, not as much as Keaton's, but I do think that Kilmer plays a better Bruce Wayne. And it may sound like sacrilege, but I really did enjoy Chase as a love interest. Maybe just as good, if not better, than Vicky Vale. Now both Vicky Vale, Chase, and I guess Selena Kyle were there just to serve the narrative in a sense, which you can't really blame him for that. But I think she was pretty good, and I think she's kind of underrated in this movie. Every once in a while, I could hear her accent come out still a little bit, but I thought overall she was a good love interest for Bruce Wayne. Now next week I'll conclude these first four Batman movies with what is heralded as one of the worst comic book movies of all time and the franchise killer, Batman and Robin. But please don't forget to follow the podcast on Twitter. Just search for The Leighton Cassette and you'll find it. And tune in next week for Batman and Robin.